Hope you're doing well today. This is going to be part of our Etude series where we work through different Etude books number by number. So this is going to be the first exercise out of the 70 Progressive Studies for Bass Trombone. This is by Gillis. It's a great book for any beginner or advanced player as well. There's always value to be taken from these different books. So, a couple things to be aware of. In the description below, first off, there's going to be a link for the book if you don't have a copy of it, for you to be able to pick that up. Second thing you're going to find in the description below is going to be a free copy of my warm-up book. So if you're wondering what you should be doing for your daily routine or what it is that I do each and every day that I play the horn, that's going to be a step-by-step walkthrough of everything about the warm-up. Lastly, what we're going to be doing with these videos is we're going to split them into 3 sections. So starting off, we're going to do kind of a lesson style, talk through a couple different things, practice a few spots, and then second thing we're going to do is count through a little bit of the exercise. And then lastly, we're going to play top to bottom with no stopping at all. So there will also be some timestamps in the description below to help guide you through, so you also don't have to wait through the talking if you're ready to just simply get into the plan. So let's get started. Here we go, Gillis number 1. So first off, we're going to want to make sure that you number all your measures. It'll make it a little easier. That's how I will refer to it as we're working through. So the first thing that I want you to just generally be aware of in this Etude book is that it's meant for a low range. So if you're a bass trombonist, it's still going to be in the middle of your range. But for those of us that are tenor trombone players, euphonium players, any other instrument, this is going to be a great low range to work on. So it's going to work on trigger work for you trombone players. For us euphonium players, it'll work on that 4th valve work. So a couple things we want to keep in mind, general rules for the Gillis as a whole. Firstly, we want to make sure that the low notes do not get kind of tossed out of the horn. They need to be just as quality a sound and just as solid as any other note in the sequence. For many of these etudes, what we're going to do is we're going to basically play a lick up an octave, and then we're going to sometimes then play it down, the same exact thing. We want to make sure that there's absolute consistency of sound at all times. So let's get started specifically on this first one. We're going to be in 6/8, so as we know, 6 beats in the measure, and the 8th note's going to get the beat. So the first spot I want to take a look at is going to be in measure 8. It's just going to be 2 octave Gs. G, G. So what we're going to look for here is consistency of sound and also a nice clean attack and a little bit of space between the 2 notes. Let's try that out. So go ahead and find measure 8. Let's try just those 2 Gs. Making sure that the articulation is exactly the same, and as we go lower on the horn, we need to use more air. So you're actually going to open up, use a ton more air as you blow into that lower note. Let's do it one more time. Here we go. Measure 8. The octave Gs. Nice strong attack, good consistency. Alright, now the next section that I want you to jump to is going to be over on measure 23. Now this is going to be a chance on this first one where we move from 1 octave, kind of the middle range of the horn. We're going to start on C above the staff, and we're going to work our way all the way down to our low F. The key to this section is going to be, even though it is a scale, making sure that we add a ton of air as we descend the line and keep the consistency of articulation, of sound, and of spacing between the notes absolutely solid and steady as possible. So let's try this out. We're going to go a little slowly the first time, and then we'll speed it up for the subsequent reps. Let's try it out. Here we go. Measure 23. This is the first measure of the second to last line if you're looking quickly for where you're supposed to be. Here we go. Alright, so what we're listening for is, again, good bounce, good separation, and a nice strong articulation on each and every note. Let's try it one more time, a little bit quicker this time. And again, I don't want a crescendo of volume, but I do want an increase of power and air and just presence as we descend this line. Let's try it out just a little bit quicker. Alright, and the third spot that we're going to take a look at in this Gillis exercise is going to be the last measure. So this is measure 32. We're just going to, again, go octave Gs, but this time instead of a dotted quarter note, we're actually going to be playing all straight 8th notes. Again, this is the last measure of the piece. It's going to be a chance for us to sometimes kind of just check out mentally. We need to stick with it, tongue nice and cleanly on each and every note. Again, consistency of articulation, consistency of sound, consistency of spacing. If you're not noticing a theme by now, you should. We want to always think one way, breathe one way, sound one way, play one way. So eliminate those variables so that the music can sing through instead. So here we go. Let's try those last few notes out. Again, let's try it first very slowly, and then we'll put it into tempo. Let's try it out. Here we go. Okay, so evenness of sound, evenness of articulation. You're going to be tempted to sometimes clip that upper note a little bit shorter than the rest. Make sure that you give it good length. We don't want to overhold, but don't be so hurried to get to the low notes that we clip the end of the upper octave piece. Let's try it one more time. This is going to be a little bit closer to full tempo. All right, now, as you're working through this, make sure you're practicing things very slowly, listening to the very clear details. Again, sound, articulation, spacing, and now let's move into our next section. So this is going to be where we're going to do a little bit of counting. This is going to be a chance for you to also work on, can you not only sing a piece or play a piece, but can you actually count through it? So that may seem a little bit basic or something that you take for granted, but I think you're going to be shocked at the number of things that are actually a little more complicated than you might think. So let's try counting this out loud. Whenever I'm counting in 6/8, I'm obviously going to be giving my eighth notes a beat, and on my quarter notes, I'm going to be counting through those patterns. So I'm not going to count 1, 3, 4, 6, 1. I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So it's easier when you're learning to count and as you're getting used to it to count the beats regardless of whether a note absorbs more than one of the beats, so that you can generally maintain that consistency of pulse as you go. Now, for those of you that are comfortable to sing this, go for it. That's going to even help your playing and your musicality more. But if you're a little uncomfortable about that, you can also just speak on a single pitch. You don't need to be fancy with it. Either way, make sure you count. Whoever counts the best, plays the best. Let's try it out. Here we go. From the top, we're not going to count the whole thing, but just generally get our flow going. Here we go. From the top, I'll count us off. Here we go. I'm going to give us one measure for free, and then we'll go for it. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ready and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it may seem silly to be counting just 6 over and over and over again, but being able to really understand and being able to separate out the rhythms is going to be key. All right, now let's move into our final section now. So we've worked on these couple spots. Hopefully you've played this slowly on your own. We're going to be playing it from the top. Now, a couple things to keep in mind. If you are a younger student, we are going to be going a little bit slower. You have the opportunity to take this faster, but remember, if you make a mistake, you got to go slower. So the tempo is up to you. You're welcome to play along with me. For those of you that are a little bit more advanced players, one thing that you can work on a lot in these Gillis exercises is your catch breathing. So what you can do in this exercise is after every single quarter note, take a breath. For those of you that are a little younger students, that's not going to be something I want you to work on right away. You've got other things that are more important. But for those of you that are advanced, try sneaking in how many catch breaths can you take, or even playing some games like can you take catch breaths on the first half of the page and then play the entire bottom half of the page in one single breath. So have fun with this. Enjoy what you're working on. It shouldn't only be a grind. So here we go. From the top, a little bit under tempo. Remember, things that we're focusing on. Always, first and foremost, do you sound good? If the answer is no, work on it. If the answer is yes, then you're in business. So, do you sound good? Consistency of articulation, consistency of rhythm, separation between our notes, and then tons of power and air as we move through our range. Let's try it out. Here we go. Top to bottom. Do not stop no matter what happens. Even if you make a mistake, make note of it. But now we're in a performance mindset. Let's get to work. Here we go. For sticking around for the whole thing. Hopefully you've enjoyed Gillis number 1. Again, remember, please give us a like, leave a comment. If you have any questions, you can also reach out. Check us out on the other social media platforms at High Impact Low Brass. And as always, if you're finding value in these, give a subscription, let your friends know about it. And if you're interested in getting notifications when we release more of these etude and different pieces of content, be sure to hit that bell. Thanks so much for sticking around. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.